Are you ready to hear about some of the strangest discoveries ever made? From 10,000-year-old rock engravings of ancient astronauts to werewolf skulls and even the foreskin of Jesus Christ himself. Buckle your seatbelts because this is going to be one crazy ride. The greatest cave explorer ever known. No one expects their dead body to become a tourist attraction, but apparently that happens sometimes. Such was the case for Floyd Collins, a daring cave explorer who met a tragic end doing what he loved most. On January 30th, 1925, Collins, a seasoned spelunker, was searching for a new entrance to Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. His family ran the lesser-known Crystal Cave, but he wanted to find something bigger to attract tourists. He hoped to find what he was looking for in Sand Cave, but that's not what happened. While exploring alone, a rock fell on his leg, trapping him in a narrow tunnel. And what followed next was one of the biggest media frenzies of the time. Word spread quickly, and soon crowds of onlookers, reporters, and vendors gathered at the site, turning it into a carnival-like spectacle. Journalists covered the ongoing rescue efforts, and one even won a Pulitzer for his first-hand interviews with Collins. Tragically, though, the tunnel collapsed, making it impossible to reach him. It wasn't until February 17th that rescuers were able to get to Collins, only to find him dead. The story takes an even stranger twist after his death. It took 2 months to retrieve Collins's body, and he was buried on the grounds of Crystal Cave. But in 1927, the new owners of the cave decided to dig him up, put his body in a glass-topped coffin, and display it as a tourist attraction. That's right, visitors could actually peer in and see the face of the greatest cave explorer ever known, as his tombstone read. It gets crazier. His body was stolen briefly in 1929, but aside from that, it remained on display for a full 60 years until 1989. That's when his family finally reburied him in the Mammoth Cave Baptist Church Cemetery. To this day, Collins' legacy lives on in a museum dedicated to his life. There are even stories of his ghost helping fellow cave explorers. Whether in life or death, Floyd Collins' connection to the caves has become the stuff of legend. The Valcamonica astronauts. Proof of ancient astronauts can be found in Italy. Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. The rock engravings of Valcamonica are among the largest displays of prehistoric petroglyphs in the world. With over 300,000 figures carved into 2,000 rocks, this incredible site boasts one of the most remarkable sets of ancient rock art ever discovered. This site, Italy's first UNESCO World Heritage Site, was created by the Comuni, an ancient Indo-European civilization that lived in the Central Alps. The engraved stones were first documented in 1909, when they were discovered by alpinist Walter Lang. However, scholars didn't seem to care about the rocks until the 1920s, when they piqued the interest of archaeologist Giuseppe Bonafini. He realized just how significant the engravings could be, sparking subsequent research and exploration in the area. Additional rock art was discovered on the surrounding rocks. By the 1930s, the site was more commonly known, and that's when people started to look a little closer at these unique engravings. Some of these rock carvings are over 10,000 years old, but it's not their age that makes them so interesting, it's their mysterious imagery. One of the most famous depictions is known as the astronauts, dating back to 8000 BC. The figures featured in this work appear to wear helmets that shine and hold tools like tridents. This had led many to speculate about ancient astronauts visiting Earth in the past. You could write the engravings off as being nothing but the work of an imaginative group of people if it weren't for the fact that other similar art can be found elsewhere. Similarities have been drawn between Comuni's engravings and images of deities from South America, Mesopotamia, and Egypt. So, what's really going on here? Are the ancients trying to tell us something? One scene within the astronaut's engraving seems to show one of the so-called astronauts coming down from a strange four-sided structure that sort of resembles a swastika. An arrow points downward from the structure, indicating the descending movement of the figure. This bizarre symbol is featured so prominently among the rock art of the Comuni that it's now known as the Rosa Comuna. Could this structure represent a flying craft of some kind? Perhaps an alien spaceship? What do you think? Would you feel any differently if I told you that the Rosa Comuna is not a symbol that's isolated to the Comuni? Nope. This design can be found in ancient rock art worldwide, and was even adopted as the symbol of Lombardy, Italy. Despite the fascinating carvings, not much else is known about the Comuni people. Their culture was largely lost when they were conquered by the Romans, and later their remaining artifacts were destroyed during the spread of Christianity. Thankfully, their rock art survived, allowing us a peek into the history of these mysterious people, sparking questions about what exactly the Comuni went through in the past. Did they make contact with something beyond our world? Are their engravings proof of ancient astronauts? I'll let you decide. Now for a brief pause of appreciation and shout out. I need to give a big thank you to Rebecca Freeman for the super thanks. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to join the Origins Explained family. Alien obelisk. What would you do if a piece of space junk crash-landed on your front lawn? Or what if it hit your house? Apparently, this may be a real concern for people in the near future. An object labeled an alien obelisk landing in rural Australia has raised concerns about space junk falling to Earth. The strange artifact found in a sheep paddock near Dalgety, New South Wales, turned out to be debris from a SpaceX Dragon capsule. Australia's space agency confirmed this after their capsule re-entered Earth's atmosphere on July 9, 2022. Astrophysicist Brad Tucker was alerted by two farmers who found the scorched object and believed it might be space junk. Tucker made the 2-hour drive to the farm and inspected the charred debris. He determined that it likely came from SpaceX's capsule, which had been launched 20 months earlier. The large object, about 10 feet tall, was initially mistaken for a burnt tree. However, closer examination revealed that it was made of materials designed to withstand heat, like carbon fire. The piece, which appeared to be part of the capsule's fin, had smashed into the ground. Thank goodness nobody was standing there, because it certainly would have killed someone. Tucker described it as resembling a bizarre alien obelisk. It weighed around 44 to 66 pounds, but hadn't yet been fully dug out. The object's re-entry was noticed by many people, with reports of a sonic boom and bright lights as the debris broke apart in the atmosphere. This isn't the first time space junk has fallen to Earth, but incidents like this are rare. In fact, this alien obelisk is the largest piece of debris to hit the country since 1979, when parts of the Skylab space station fell over Western Australia. Although space debris usually falls into the ocean, this event has raised concerns about the growing risk of falling space junk. With space activities increasing, experts are now focusing on developing technology to better control re-entries and reduce risks for people on the ground. Ancient curse tablet. Archaeologists made a smelly discovery at the bottom of a latrine in Germany that had them reaching for their holy water. During construction work in the city of Rostock, workers recovered a seemingly unremarkable piece of lead. When archaeologists took a look, they initially believed that it was nothing but scrap metal. But everything changed when they unrolled it. What they had actually found was a medieval curse tablet, and etched inside was a shocking message. The message, written in Gothic script from the 15th century, contained a curse summoning Satan himself, referred to him as Beelzebub, and another demonic spirit named Berith. The curse was directed at two people, one named Talik and the other named Heinrich. The identities of these two individuals remain a mystery, but researchers have speculated that the curse might have been a result of jealousy, possibly a love triangle or some other personal dispute. The curse tablet is an unusual find for the medieval period, as such artifacts are more commonly associated with ancient Greece and Rome. In those times, people would etch curses onto tablets to invoke supernatural forces against their enemies. Similar tablets have been found in Israel and Greece, targeting rivals in various ways, including one that cursed a dancer. What the dancer did to deserve it, we may never know. Finding this tablet at the bottom of a latrine, though odd, wasn't a total surprise. Curse tablets were often hidden in places that would be hard to find, especially by those being cursed. In this case, the latrine provided the perfect hiding spot. It makes you wonder if this sort of thing still happens today. Has anyone ever wronged you so terribly that you seriously considered cursing them? Let me know in the comments down below. The Meteorite Man, the Iron Man. Did you know that Nazis were always on the lookout for strange and otherworldly artifacts? It's true, and they found just that during an expedition in the 1930s when they recovered an ancient statue carved from a meteorite. The 1,000-year-old statue, known as the Iron Man, was originally discovered in Tibet by German scientist Ernst Schaefer. His expedition was supported by Heinrich Himmler, a top Nazi leader who believed that Tibet held mystical links to the Aryan race. The statue was taken back to Germany, where it remained hidden in a private collection until it resurfaced in 2007. At just 9 inches tall and weighing 22 pounds, the statue features a swastika on its stomach, an ancient symbol that the Nazis basically stole. But what makes the statue truly remarkable is the material it's made from. When the new owner of the artifact, Dr. Elmar Buchner from the University of Stuttgart, had it analyzed, he quickly realized it wasn't just any rock. It was carved from a meteorite. It was specifically carved from a unique type of meteorite known as an ataxite, which has a high nickel and cobalt content. If you didn't know, ataxites are incredibly rare, making up less than 0.1% of all meteorites on Earth. The statue was likely carved from a fragment of the Chinga meteorite, which crashed about 15,000 years ago in Siberia and Mongolia. Experts believe it was created around 1,000 years ago, possibly by the pre-Buddhist Bon culture. It's not exactly clear, but some researchers believe the statue may represent the god of warfare, Vaishravana. The Nazis, however, had no idea that the statue was made from such a rare substance. They just thought it was strange, so they kept it for themselves. After all, they had an obsession with ancient artifacts, and this statue fit into their collection perfectly. The Iron Man statue seems to be proof that ancient cultures valued celestial materials. But why? Virgin Mary milk. Would you believe me if I told you there's a chapel in Palestine that claims to have the breast milk of the Virgin Mary? It sounds like a joke, but it's not. This holy breast milk has actually been venerated for centuries, and even today, many believe that it possesses magical powers that cure infertility. So if you and your partner are struggling to conceive, you might want to take a trip to the chapel of the Milk Grotto in Bethlehem. According to legend, this is where Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus sought refuge during King Herod's massacre of the innocents. It's said that while nursing Jesus, some drops of Mary's breast milk fell onto the cave walls, turning the stone a chalky white. Today, this powdery white limestone, known as Virgin Mary milk powder, is still used by the faithful who hope for a miracle. Couples drink the powder, mixing it with water or milk while praying for a child. The site has received hundreds of letters from people around the world who claim the powder helped them conceive after visiting the grotto. These stories of miraculous births keep the tradition alive, attracting visitors from across the globe. The Milk Grotto has been a place of worship since the 4th century AD. Over time, it has become more elaborate, with altars being added, as well as artworks dedicated to the Virgin Mary and her child. The current chapel was built in the 19th century, but its roots go back to the Byzantine era, with Pope Gregory XI even allowing an expansion of the site in the 14th century. Although some claim the powder can only be obtained by visiting the grotto, pouches of the limestone powder are available online on sites like Etsy and eBay. People mix the powder in drinks, hoping for a miracle. Critics, including Protestant reformer John Calvin, have long dismissed the practice. In his book, The Treatise About Relics, Calvin sarcastically remarked that if all the Virgin Mary's milk on display in churches were real, she would have produced more milk than a dairy farm. But despite the skepticism, for many believers, the Milk Grotto remains a powerful symbol of faith and hope. The Thing. A bizarre fossil, nicknamed The Thing, sat unidentified for nearly a decade after being discovered in the icy depths of Antarctica in 2011. It looked like a deflated football. The Chilean scientists who uncovered it had no idea what it was, so they let it waste away in a back room of Chile's National Museum of Natural History. Little did they know, they had stumbled upon something truly extraordinary. Pause the video for a moment and give me your best guess as to what this thing is in the comments before I make the grand reveal. It took 9 years, but researchers at the University of Texas at Austin finally cracked the mystery in 2020. It turned out that the thing was a massive soft-shell egg from about 66 million years ago. At over 11 inches long and 7 inches wide, it's the largest soft-shell egg ever discovered and the second largest egg from any animal on record. But that's not all. This egg was most likely laid by an extinct marine reptile like a mosasaur, which scientists didn't even think laid eggs. How amazing is that? Lucas Legendre, the lead researcher, explained that while the egg is huge, it doesn't resemble a dinosaur egg at all. It's more like the eggs of modern lizards or snakes, but laid by a giant ancient marine creature. This discovery pushed the boundaries of what scientists thought was possible when it came to soft-shell eggs. The fossil was first discovered buried beneath snow and ice by David Rubella Rogers and his team back in 2011. He showed it to numerous geologists, but no one could figure out what it was. Until Julia Clark from UT Austin came by in 2018. After examining it, she had a light bulb moment and realized it was likely a deflated egg. Further analysis confirmed the fossil had several layers of membrane, proving it was exactly what she thought it was. Legendre also compared the egg size to hundreds of modern reptiles, concluding that the reptile that laid it would have been over 20 feet long, possibly a mosasaur or pliosaur. What was even more convincing was the discovery of baby mosasaur and pliosaur skeletons nearby. This suggested that this might have been a nursery site for these marine giants. The researchers are still debating how this giant egg was laid. It might have hatched in the water like modern sea snakes, or the reptile could have laid it on the beach like sea turtles with some fancy tail maneuvering. Whatever the case may be, this discovery has rewritten what scientists know about ancient marine reptiles, making the thing one of the coolest fossil finds in recent history. The werewolf skull. You might be nervous for the next full moon after hearing this story. In a small village in Macedonia, a farmer made a discovery straight out of a horror movie. While plowing a field in 2014, Trace Dragonov, awesome name by the way, unearthed a chained box, and I bet you'll never guess what he found inside. Inside was a skull that looked eerily like a werewolf's. The skull had a wolf-like shape, but its enlarged cranium was more human-like, something usually seen in primates. This strange find got everyone talking, wondering if they had really found the skull of a mythological creature. Historian Philippe Ganev, who was in the area researching for his book on the Balkan Wars, heard about the discovery and met Trace. He took photographs of the bizarre skull and shared them with wildlife experts. Their conclusion? It was likely a wolf with Paget disease, a condition that makes the skull grow unusually large and more human-like. However, that didn't stop the villagers from jumping to more supernatural conclusions. Werewolves, or Vukolak in local myths, have been a part of Balkan folklore for centuries. According to legend, people could become werewolves if they were born with certain traits, like being born with hair, or if they committed a serious sin. The only way to truly get rid of a werewolf was through an exorcism, decapitation, and burning the body. And of course, all of this had to happen on a Saturday, when werewolves were said to rest in their graves. Many villagers were disturbed by Trace's discovery, fearing that he had unleashed the spirit of the werewolf. But Trace wasn't worried. In fact, he was proud of what he found and enjoyed showing off the skull to anyone who would look. He knew that his neighbors were upset. They believed that disturbing the werewolf's grave might curse Trace to become a werewolf himself. He wasn't scared though. He shrugged it off, telling Philippe Ganev, "If that is now my fate, so be it." It's now been 10 years and there's been no updates about Trace or his werewolf skull. Why do you think that is? Could it be because his neighbors were right? Is he no longer human? Let me know what you think down below. Which bottle? What do you do in order to protect you and your loved ones from evil magic? Wait, what? You don't do anything? Sounds like you could use a witch's bottle. In 2019, a creepy but fascinating discovery was made in Northamptonshire, England. Workers renovating an old pub, once known as the Star and Garter Inn, stumbled upon a strange glass bottle hidden inside of a chimney. But this wasn't just an ordinary bottle. Nope. It was a witch bottle, an object once believed to protect homes and people from evil magic. The bottle dates back to the 19th century and contained a bizarre mix of items. Can you guess what they were? If you said fish hooks, human teeth, shards of broken glass, and a mysterious liquid, you were right on the money. Confused by the discovery, the pub's owner handed the bottle over to experts at the Museum of London Archaeology, who confirmed that it was a witch bottle. These bottles were popular between the 15th and 19th centuries. They were thought to break evil spells cast by witches. People would fill them with all kinds of odd things like urine and pins. They believed that the witch would be drawn to the scent of bodily waste, get trapped on the sharp pins, and be forced to stop their dark magic. Wow, who knew it was that easy? Back then, people were catching witches like we catch mice today. This particular bottle was hidden in the chimney, likely because it was believed that the heat from the fire would warp the pins and put an end to the witch's power. People also thought chimneys were entry points for witches, so the bottle may have been placed there to keep one from sneaking inside. It wasn't the only method for warding off witches either. People also buried mummified cats or bones in their walls and drew protective symbols known as witch marks on their homes. What really makes this discovery interesting is the fact that the pub where this bottle was found is also the birthplace of Angeline Tubbs, who's famously known as the Witch of Saratoga. She left for the American colonies in the late 1700s and gained a reputation as a skilled fortune teller and practitioner of the dark arts in New York. Though the bottle wasn't directly connected to Tubbs, since it was made later, it shows that the fear of witchcraft persisted even into the Industrial Revolution. Today, the bottle's owner plans to keep it hidden again, leaving it for someone to rediscover in another 100 years. Thank goodness for parasites. You know what I've never heard anyone say before? Thank goodness for parasites. But that's exactly what archaeologists were saying in Sicily in 2022. 3 years prior, they unearthed what looked like a simple 1500-year-old ceramic jar from a Roman villa. Initially, they believed that it had been used to store things. But as it turns out, this orange pot wasn't used for storing grain or water. It was actually an ancient chamber pot. And the key to figuring this out? Parasite eggs. Scientists analyzed a calcified crust found inside the pot and discovered whipworm eggs, which are commonly found in human feces. This gross but fascinating clue led researchers to realize that this was no storage jar, but an ancient porta potty. Before this discovery, archaeologists had found similar conical pots in Roman sites and suspected they might have been chamber pots, especially since many were found near latrines. But no one had concrete proof. Until now. The jar was found in fragments, but was later reassembled. It stands about 12.5 inches tall and has a rim that's 13.5 inches wide. Researchers believe that the Romans likely placed this pot under a wooden or wicker chair with a hole in it, making it the perfect makeshift toilet. How convenient! The jar was found outside the villa's bathhouse. So it seems like visitors may have used it when, the urge hit, especially since the baths didn't have a built-in latrine. The villa itself dates back to around 380 AD and was later damaged by an earthquake. While attempts were made to fix it, the area was eventually abandoned and the pot was buried as the space was filled in. What's really cool is that this is the first time researchers have identified parasite eggs in a Roman ceramic pot. Using a clever technique where the pot's crust was dissolved in an acid bath, the eggs were revealed under a microscope. This method showed just how well preserved they were after centuries. The holy foreskin. Have you ever wondered what did the doctors do with Jesus' foreskin after his circumcision? No? Me neither. But there is an answer to that question. Doctors didn't throw it away or bury it, they worshipped it. During the Middle Ages, a curious relic known as the Holy Foreskin was highly revered in various churches across Western Europe. Yes, you read that right. A piece of Jesus' foreskin was believed to be a holy relic. This might sound strange, but for nearly 1,000 years, many Christians considered this relic to be a direct link to Jesus himself. James White, a PhD student at the University of Alberta, is currently exploring this unusual aspect of medieval devotion. Why? Well, he's doing it for his thesis titled Ring of Flesh, the late medieval devotion to the Holy Foreskin. Alright dudes, pretty weird topic, but hey, at least White agrees. In the beginning of his thesis, he humorously warns his audience about the oddity of his research. He explains that in medieval times, people believed that Jesus, being Jewish, was circumcised at 8 days old, and that his foreskin might still be around. The fascination with such relics wasn't as weird as it might sound. Throughout history, various relics like pieces of the true cross or saints' body parts were thought to be magical and capable of miracles. These relics were highly revered as they were believed to maintain a divine connection, sometimes referred to as super incorruptibility. The story of the holy foreskin is particularly interesting. It's said that in the 8th century, King Charlemagne gifted a piece of this relic to Pope Leo III. It was kept in Rome until the city was sacked in 1527. After the invasion, the relic was lost, but later reappeared in a village called Calcutta, just north of Rome. The villagers were thrilled, and a foreskin was prominently displayed in their church, known as the Church of the Holy Name in English. The village celebrated the relic with a parade every year on the 1st of January, marking Jesus' circumcision and naming day. However, in 1900, the Vatican issued a decree to banish the practice of venerating such relics, leading to a dramatic decline in their popularity. Despite this, though, Calcutta was allowed to keep its annual foreskin celebration. But in 1983, just before the parade was to take place, the relic mysteriously disappeared. Theories about its fate range from theft by Satanists to black market sales. The exact whereabouts remain unknown, and the mystery has never been solved. James White finds the fascination with the holy foreskin intriguing, but not because of the relic itself, but because of what it reveals about medieval beliefs and practices. According to historian Mary Rubin, focusing on such relics made Jesus seem more human and relatable. She also notes that modern obsessions with celebrity artifacts like Elvis's memorabilia or rare comic books echo this medieval passion for sacred relics. And she's right, don't you think? Whether it's a piece of a celebrity's clothing or an old religious relic, people have always wanted something physical to connect them with their idols or heroes. This has been the case for a long time across different cultures. World's oldest fake eye. In 2006, archaeologists made a remarkable discovery in Iran's burnt city, a fake eye dating back to 2800 BC. This ancient prosthetic is the oldest artificial eye ever found, and it reveals some amazing details about early medical practices and craftsmanship. The eye was discovered in the skull of a woman who lived nearly 5,000 years ago, and it wasn't just for looks, it was actually worn during her lifetime. The burnt city, an ancient settlement from the Bronze Age, got its name because it had been destroyed by fire multiple times. Archaeologists have uncovered all sorts of interesting artifacts there, but the fake eye definitely takes the cake. It was found in the skull of a woman believed to be about 25 to 30 years old. She stood nearly 6 feet tall, which was pretty impressive for the time. Not much else is known about her, other than the fact that at some point she lost an eye. This ancient prosthetic was crafted from a mix of natural tar and animal fat, which kept it moist and durable. The craftsmanship was stunning. Tiny golden wires were used to represent blood vessels, and a pupil was carefully carved with surrounding lines to form a realistic iris. 2 small holes on either side of the eyeball allowed gold wires to hold the eye in place, ensuring that it wouldn't fall out. It was even designed to move gently in the socket. The discovery of the eye wasn't just a medical marvel. It also suggested that the woman was of high social status. Alongside the prosthetic, archaeologists found jewelry, clay vessels, a bronze mirror, and other items, leading them to believe she might have been a member of the royal family. After all, only someone of great importance would have access to such a detailed and custom-made fake eye. This discovery is important because it shows that people in ancient Iran had a surprisingly advanced understanding of ocular anatomy. The intricate design of the eye, from the golden blood vessels to the painted details, proves that the creators of this prosthetic knew a lot about how the human eye looked and worked. Today's prosthetic eyes are made of acrylic, but turns out the concept of artificial eyes has been around for thousands of years, and the craftsmanship was just as impressive back then, the shackled skeletons. What terrible thing does a person have to do to be buried in handcuffs? Archaeologists were asking that very question when they unearthed mass graves filled with shackled skeletons at an ancient cemetery near Athens, Greece. Found in the port city of Faleiro in 2016, this graveyard contained over 1,500 skeletons dating back to between the 8th and 5th centuries BC. The most mysterious were the skeletons of people buried with their hands shackled behind their backs. Researchers believe this unusual burial could offer clues about the political unrest that eventually led to the rise of Athens as a powerful city-state. Excavations at Faleiro had been ongoing for years, but the large-scale dig between 2012 and 2016, led by archaeologist Stella Chrysolaki, uncovered these strange graves. Some skeletons were found in simple pit graves, while others were buried in stone-lined graves or even in large jars, especially infants and children. There were also a few cremations with funeral pyres, and one person was buried in a wooden boat used as a coffin. But the shackled skeletons stood out as a rare and puzzling find. So why were these people shackled? Experts have several theories. The shackles might suggest that they were slaves, criminals, or victims of a political purge during a time of great upheaval in Athens. For now, though, nothing is certain. But understanding why they were could help researchers piece together the story of Athens' transformation into a democracy. Members of the research team, bioarchaeologist Jane Bwikstra and geoarchaeologist Panagiotis Karkanas, are studying the skeletons in detail. They hope to learn more about the people's diet, diseases, and the lives of children in ancient Greece. By studying these shackled skeletons and other deviant burials, archaeologists might eventually understand how social classes and political conflicts shaped Athens' early history. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and while you're at it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.